the conversations when equalization comes up. Is there a sense that some provinces are being un-Canadian, and what do you make of that?
So we haven't discussed equalization yet, but in the Northwest Territories, we're in a much different situation. We have a different funding formula, so I'll be sitting back and observing that conversation more than anything.
Do you worry that that could be a divisive issue because you guys are trying to show a united front?
You know what? What I found in this room is that, you know, there's obviously ideological differences between parties, but in the grand scheme of things, we're all Canadians working towards really the same goals. And so I found the room to be very, everyone's aware of that as well, right? So people know that we're not here to be divisive. We're here to actually work together and move ahead. So it's, I'm not too concerned about that being a divisive issue.
So is it fair to say that you're not joining Newfoundland and Labrador's court case? You're not considering that over equalization payments?
Like, that's not relevant to us, so no, we won't be doing that.
What else is on the agenda today?
It's probably best to talk to the chair about what's on the agenda.
There is a line in the communique about the carbon tax. Do you think that all the premiers are united in terms of when you talk about fair treatment when it comes to the carbon tax? Is it its removal that's the only fair way?
Oh, I can't speak for all the premiers, and I'm sure there's a multitude of different opinions on that.
What is your opinion on it?
You know, there is a carbon tax. It's federal law, and so we are going to, you know, abide by the carbon tax. I wish that there were more options in the territory to get off of diesel, you know, move to things like heat pumps, but the technology is just not there yet. And so we do need some support to find alternatives, because right now we're very reliant on fossil fuels in the territory just by the nature of where we live.
Do you feel that unfairly punishes your territory as a result?
There's already high costs in the territory, and so every additional cost just makes it harder for people. We do have an offset, so the money is returned to people, and we do use the revenues for green energy products. Nonetheless, I get it. When you are really living paycheck to paycheck, it's tough when there's additional costs, even if you're getting that money back at some time in the future. So, you know, what I've heard across the territory is people, you know, every time someone purchases something, it's expensive in the north, in a lot of places, and they feel that.
We heard that U.S. relations came up as a big topic yesterday. I'm just wondering how you are preparing in your own territory for the possibility of the return of a Trump presidency and punitive trade measures.
So similar to how we work with the federal government, it doesn't matter who's in power. We need to work with whoever's in power. And so we have we have a strong relationship with the United States as Canada. There's a significant amount of trade, obviously, between the two jurisdictions, cultural exchanges. And so whatever the situation is, we're going to work with whatever incoming administration is. And that's especially important now, given the transition to a green economy, the advancement of green technology. We are the beginning of the supply chain for things like lithium, for critical minerals, and there's a lot of interest from the United States in that. And we need to make sure that we are working to ensure there's a secure North American supply chain.
Do you think there's an appropriate timeline to take advantage of that critical mineral deposit? Is this something that Canada can move quick enough on to become a market leader?
I sure hope so. I mean, you know, the critical minerals, they're going to be in the ground. They're going to be there forever. And so, you know, we are always going to need them. And so there's, you know, the market goes up and down. There's times when it's easier to get investment for these things, but we do have the resources, and we're working to streamline our processes. You know, we're always encouraging the federal government to streamline their processes, and we need to make sure that the Indigenous governments whose land that these resources are on are properly engaged, and they are properly resourced to be engaged. When you don't have a settled land claim, and you have dozens of companies coming to you for consultation, it's difficult. And so one of the things we're doing is trying to figure out how we can support the Indigenous governments to ensure that they are properly consulted, because nothing happens in the Northwest Territories without the consent of the local people.
How do you feel when foreign interests get involved in companies that are seeking out those minerals in the Northwest Territories? I'm thinking of China, which has invested in critical mineral companies in Canada.
Well, that really is federal jurisdiction. What we're concerned about in the Northwest Territories is ensuring there's benefits for the people of the Northwest Territories. And so we want to encourage Canadian investment, because there's definitely an understanding in Canada that you need that local investment, you need the benefits for the local Indigenous population. And so we want to see, and we're trying to do on our part, we're trying to make a more inviting investment climate in the territory. All right, thanks everyone.
Are you concerned about the return of a Trump presidency and what that could mean?
Look, I let Americans decide who they're going to vote for, just like Americans decide to let Canadians who they vote for. My job as Premier is to work with whoever is elected and to try to do the best we can for the people we serve, and that's what I've done every day since 2019, and I'll continue to do that. So.
But he is promising tariffs, income tariffs. I mean, that must be a concern for a province like P.E.I.
Anytime we have a trade, relationship like we do with a place like the United States, it's a conversation that takes place every day, and there could be some cut and thrust to that along the way. We know that we've developed a good relationship over the last 100 years when it comes to seafood products, to lobster, some aerospace products, things like that. It's our biggest trading partner, so we'll just continue to work with them every day and provide good products to them, and they'll do the same for us.
On the equalization.
We're going to continue to have good discussions about the state of the Federation. Healthcare, obviously the cost of living, we know is top priority for Canadians. And frankly, how we can all work together to help to address that.
There were calls from Jane Philpott saying that we should have a provincial registry as well as a federal registry of all the people who need family doctors. Is that something Newfoundland would consider, like getting a registry of everyone who needs?
Yes, of course. Newfoundland and Labrador already is working with their provincial counterparts to look at who's missing on the family doctor list. We have an ability for people to register online if they don't have a family doctor, and then we cross-check that with their MCP cards, our local health insurance numbers, to make sure that we have accurate information moving forward, because there's different numbers. It's in everyone's best interest to have the accurate numbers, the accurate data when assigning healthcare providers, or in our case, the provision and location of healthcare teams. One of the things that Dr. Philpott suggested was working in teams. Newfoundland and Labrador has been leading the rest of the country with respect to family care teams, making sure that medical professionals work to the full scope of their practice within a team. And what that does, by the way, it allows the professional to have a good work-life balance as well, so they know that their patients are being looked after when they take vacation, as opposed to the traditional way of working. The family doc shows up, hangs out the shingle, and then they have to look after people from cradle to grave. When they go on vacation, they need to find a locum. It's a lot of overhead. So that's the model that we've already employed in Newfoundland and Labrador, and we're continuing to roll it out.
You've had talks with Mr. Legault about Churchill Falls. Has Quebec showed you the money?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But we're making progress, and I'm hopeful that he can find some more money to show us, and we'd be happy to continue the conversations.
Is there like the beginning of a deal on the table?
I think that's premature. All I can say is over the last 4 years we've made reasonable progress, but the time has come now to see if there is a space for a deal to be had. And look, we'll see. He's going to have to show me the money.
But now there's competitors on the table, right? A mining company?
Of course, we've always said that we're in a good position with respect to the power in Newfoundland and Labrador. As you know, we provide 15% of Quebec's firm capacity in the Upper Churchill Agreement. That's set to expire in 2041. Anyone who knows anything about utility or engineering knows that you would have to consider that 5,400 megawatts of capacity and how you're going to replace that today. Almost shovels in the ground today. So we think we're in a good position with respect to Newfoundland and Labrador. We have other assets that could be developed. Interested in having a potential partnership with Quebec only if there is a good deal that provides the best benefits for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
Thank you, Premier.
Great.
If we could just have you set the agenda for the day, please. What's on the schedule?
I'm looking forward to it. Day 2, it was a good day yesterday. Canada-U.S. relations, healthcare, big topics for Canadians for sure.
Are you worried that this idea or this legal challenge over equalization could be a divisive issue amongst the premiers in terms of the fact that some provinces may gain, other provinces may lose?
It's a big country. It's a diverse country, so I think there's always issues back and forth. It's the job of the federal government to make sure there's fairness across the country, but we certainly have a position on equalization. Others have their position, and we'll work through it.
What's your position? One of those conversations that you're on the table on.
Oh, the tone is always it's always collegiate. Like it's everybody's just trying to do the same thing, govern, do what's best for their citizens. So, we get along very good. We have mutual interests and the same challenges.
What is your position on equalization?
Well, I always think Nova Scotia should get more. Per capita, based on age and demographics and stuff, is something that's important to Nova Scotia. But these are there's always difficult discussions, but we have them like adults.
Premier, floating kind of a new formula? Obviously, there's a lawsuit. What is Nova Scotia's position on those new ideas that are on the table?
We'll assess them all. Like we listen. We try to be a government that listens carefully and then assesses, thoroughly. And we'll do that with proposals that come forward. But my interest is always in Nova Scotians, but I believe in this country as well. So I have a view of what's fair across the country as well.
Thanks, everyone. That's all the time we have.
Do you think it's working in an
What is the tone like around the table when you talk about issues?
Pretty great.
Pretty great?
Yeah, there's a lot of camaraderie in the room and some laughs. And I think it's pretty awesome that you got a table with 2 New Democrats, 2 Liberals, a bunch of Conservatives, 2 non-partisan premiers, and we can get together and focus on Canadians. So I think it's a good model
Are there any
for our
issues
democracy.
that are particularly that has surprised you in terms of them being a bit more divisive than you imagined?
Well, we operate by consensus, so I think there's a really great commitment amongst my colleagues to come together and put the best interests of the country first and foremost. So if we can do it at this table, I think it'd be great if we had the federal government engage with us in the same way.
How do you
What's
feel
your
about
take
the
on
equalization
debate? What's your take on the equalization debate that's happening?
What in particular are you
The challenge to
interested
the
in?
formula by Newfoundland and Labrador, the indication that BC may be interested in supporting that, along with Alberta getting involved. What's Manitoba's stance?
Well, equalization is about the Constitution. The idea that no matter where you live in the country, you should be able to get good health care, good education. And that's what we believe in Manitoba.
Do you feel like it's fair, the current formula?
We think that Manitoba is really committed to improving health care, really committed to having a strong education system. And, we need predictability around funding in order to be able to deliver those things. And so at the federal level, I've certainly shared that message with all of the federal leaders.
Are you experiencing that predictability?
Well, what I'm looking for is long-term predictability going forward into the future after the next federal election. And so that's why I've shared that message.
Newfoundland's court case, or supporting that court case?
I'm not making any news on that today.
Are there any concerns on your part that some provinces are being treated differently? I'm thinking about Quebec, $750 million to deal with refugees, housing issues. Is that an issue that's come up, or has Quebec said, learn from us?
Well, Premier Legault and I have a good relationship. I've certainly said we'd be willing to entertain, with federal support, some of the conversation around asylum seekers. But the issue that I see at the federal level right now, nationally, that is playing or could potentially be a big impact on us at the provinces is we're a trading province. 75% roughly of our exports go to the U.S. And if we think through what's going to happen over the next few years with their election and new administration potentially, we have to get to the 2% NATO spending target for defense. And again, I want Canadians to see this as a national security thing. It's an investment in the Canadian Armed Forces. But I encourage Canadians to think about this also as an investment in trade. If we're not meeting our responsibility to our NATO allies, it is going to have an impact on the USMCA, the CUSMA renewal. It is going to have an impact on the relationship. And I can say that myself and all the other premiers are investing a lot of time and effort into strengthening U.S. trade and making sure that good jobs in Canada continue to be created by that. But I am concerned that if we don't hit that 2% target within the next 4 years, the next administration in the U.S., that it is going to become a trade issue. It is going to become a trade irritant. So I think it's really important for us to hit that.
That might be surprising coming from you, an NDPer, saying that we need to spend more on defense. Like, we are talking possibly $20 billion more a year towards defense.
There's dual use infrastructure. We have a deep sea Arctic port in northern Manitoba. We have the NORAD headquarters. We got the F-35 contracts, the new submarines. We got the question of investing in the actual human resources of the Canadian Armed Forces. I think if we look at those things and the needs that we have around Arctic sovereignty, there's clearly a path forward here. And the point that I'm making is we need to invest in national security, but we also need the federal government in this area, clearly a federal responsibility, to do their part, just so that it doesn't interfere with our economic plan at the provincial level. We want good jobs in Manitoba. A ton of those come from trade with the U.S., and so we need to be a good NATO partner in order for that trade relationship to flourish.
The government says we'll only reach that goal by 2032. So how can you deal with the U.S. knowing that Canada is only going to reach that target in a decade from now almost?
Well, I'm encouraging the federal government to move more quickly. I think the timeline we have to think about is the next administration, whoever that may be, in the United States of America. So let's hit that target in the next 4 years with a credible plan to do so. If we do that, then I think all the trade conversations that we have, national security conversations that we have with the U.S. are going to be much more robust and productive.
Pierre Poilievre says he's not going to commit to NATO 2%.
Well, I'm encouraging all the candidates vying to be the next prime minister to come forward with a credible plan over the next 4 years to hit the NATO 2% target.
Do you think Trudeau should be the one that takes on Trump?
Sorry, I had two questions at the same time.
Well, do you think Trudeau is best suited to take on Trump again if that's what happens, or is it maybe Poilievre's turn to take it on with NATO and trade and all of those things?
The premiers, myself included, are going to be in D.C. We're going to be there creating job opportunities for Manitobans and Canadians. We're going to be there strengthening economic ties, no matter who the next president of the United States is. But this NATO issue is something that Canada needs to more clearly state our path forward on if we want the rest of the relationship, beyond just defense, but reaching into economic and job issues. If we want that to be strong, we really have to focus on this.
Prime Minister Trudeau says that since he doesn't appear to be stepping down, he's looking at ways to make lives more affordable for Canadians. Is there a policy, one policy that you think that would make a difference to all Canadians if it were implemented?
We cut the provincial gas tax in Manitoba on January 1st of this year, and we've had the lowest inflation provincially in the country since then. That's a tangible, reducing the price of gasoline is a tangible way that you can make life more affordable for people.
Should other provinces do that?
I think other provinces have, and certainly it's the approach that's worked for Manitobans, and Manitobans have said, again, we want climate-friendly policy, incentives to decarbonize home heating and transportation, but at the same time, if we want to get to that climate-friendly future, we got to help people right now get through this cost of living crisis that they're feeling.
You're talking federal carbon tax, the answer?
I think that our position has been very clear. We're going to decarbonize. We're going to have a climate-friendly net zero future in Manitoba without a carbon price. Thanks. Awesome.
About LCBO talks resuming, are you hopeful for a deal?
Yeah, no, I'm quite excited about that. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of frontline workers. They just want to get back to work. The people of Ontario want them back to work. LCBO wants them back to work. We all want to get them back to work, and hopefully we can get this done. We've offered benefits. We've offered a pay increase. We've offered full-time, part-time folks, full-time opportunities, over 400 of them. And so hopefully we can get this done. But I just got to thank the frontline LCBO workers. When I talk to them, they're so polite. I always say, they tell me their stories, it hits you in the heart, and I just want them back to work. And they want to get back to work, every one of them I speak to.
Is there any concerns about reopening the equalization formula calculation, that the legal challenge being launched by Newfoundland and Labrador and being joined possibly by David?
Yeah, no, I understand. That's a discussion that we've taken place yesterday. It'll take place again today, and we'll discuss it further. So,
is it divisive? Do you support it as well?
Well, let's sit down and we'll have a chat today and get that done.
Does equalization work for Ontario?
Well, we put in, $10.2 billion towards it, so, but we just want to make sure everyone's taken care of equally right across the country, and we work together. And as the largest province, I always believe in supporting smaller provinces. We've always had that approach, but it's a real team effort, Team Canada effort in there. We really have to focus on issues like healthcare, and our number one issue as I become chair is making sure we get this life-saving drugs to people in Canada. It's just totally unfair to the people. We're last in the G7. It takes over 700 and some odd days. Well, people need these drugs, and it's just taking way too long. So with the Health Canada, PCPA, and ourselves, we need to get these out into the market as quickly as possible to save lives.
Did you talk to Mayor Chow about the flooding in Toronto? Did you have a chance to talk to her?
I haven't had a chance yet. We've been busy here, but I talk to her probably 3-4 times a week. We have an incredible relationship on East Harbour there, flood mitigation. we're supporting that project, but we need the federal government to come in and put their fair share in as well.
What about trade with the U.S. and support Trump presidency?
Yeah, well, we went through that last time. They put tariffs on us, and we worked collaboratively with the federal government. They asked us to go down to talk to Lighthizer, his negotiator, and all of a sudden, bang, it came off in 3 weeks. But we won't hesitate if they put tariffs on any of our products. We do $500 billion of trade. Ontario alone with the U.S. would be their third largest trading partner in the world. We're #1 customer to 17 states, #2 to 11 others. So we're an economic powerhouse. I don't believe, as I mentioned yesterday, and buy USA, buy America. It should be buy North America, because at the end of the day, it's Canada, the U.S., and you could put Mexico in there against the rest of the world, no matter if it's South America, Asia, Europe, anyone that we compete against.
Seems to feel that trade will increasingly be linked to NATO, the 2% GDP.
Yeah.
He wants it moved up. Is that?
Yeah, that was the comments around the table, and Premier Kinew, led that, and he hit it bang on. That it's going to play an important role. We aren't too far off. We should meet our obligations, but it ties into economic development as well, which is important in our critical mineral sector. So we're looking forward to having a great conversation today, and we have a great team of premiers. We all work together, and we're getting a lot of things done.
Okay, we're gonna go.
Yeah, I think we can. We can move forward as quickly as possible. It's great when you have everyone around the table in a consensus after we discuss it, and so that's it. And this is Premier Houston's gift here.
Yeah, what's in
Okay.
the box?
What is that?
Well, okay, full disclosure, okay. It's my daughter's cookie company, and she sends it out to the premiers. Kai Kai cookies, best cookies ever in the whole world. But that's the gift to Premier Houston and his lovely wife. So we'll be eating well. Thank you. Which way do we go? Around here. Thanks so much, everyone.